Hi friend. Today we have another anime Get Ready With Me covering the latest from Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer. What must have been is one of the most epic episodes ever created. I'll dedicate a separate video covering Attack on Titan because that was a lot. It was dark. I need to get into my notes to fully immerse myself in what happened in that episode. It was a lot. But today we're covering episode 17 or episode 10, depending on how you label them, in the Entertainment District arc. Oh my god. I have notes because there's a lot I want to cover, and this is Get Ready With Me, so we're going to chat, okay? I won't speak so much on the makeup, but all that I have used will be listed down below. I will show you, however, what I'm using on the eyes, the Byredo Prismic palette, as well as the Nakia Joy multi-chrome powders that were gifted to me by a fam member. Thank you, Jewel, again. My apologies for taking forever in having these on camera, so here we go. I'll also make some small parallels to the manga, as I am a manga reader. I have completed the entire Demon Slayer story. I would also recommend that you check out Plot Armor. They do great parallels between the manga and the anime, as well as Registry. Registry gets into the nitty-gritty comparisons between the two mediums, so if you want to get nerdy about it, I'll have those video links down below. Where do I begin? Foundation. Yes. We begin the episode with Tanjiro falling from the roof as Zenitsu pushed him off to protect him because he didn't realize that Daki was attacking him after he had just seen Inosuke stabbed in the back, and he saw Tengen on the floor with his hand cut off. There was a lot going on. Last week's cliffhanger was brutal. We didn't know who was going to survive. It looked bad all around, and everyone throughout the week was like, how is this gonna have a happy ending or even an okay ending? Okay, I need a mirror. Tanjiro falls off the roof, collapses on his back, which is actually not in the manga. We just see him on the floor. And then we enter a dream as he loses consciousness because he just fell. He closes his eyes, so he's like out for a minute. And we see Nezuko. And we actually see them both in the snowy forest where this whole story began. It was on a snowy day. And we see Nezuko in her human form telling Tanjiro to stop apologizing, because as he was falling, he was saying, "This is my fault. If I hadn't left Uzui's side, I would have been able to help him. If I didn't get distracted, I would have prevented Inosuke from getting stabbed." So, of course, in true Tanjiro fashion, he continues to blame himself for everything that has gone wrong. Nezuko reminds him that not everything is his fault. In fact, to put your blame on yourself all the time kind of lessens the efforts from those around you who are also making the same sacrifices, who are also putting in efforts to the cause. Sometimes bad things happen. No matter how much you prepare, no matter what you do, some things are just not your fault, and that's how everything falls into place. And she was explaining to him, you know, it's no one's fault that our father became ill and died. It's no one's fault that we became poor, but we did the best that we could. All we can do now is continue moving forward together. And I think it's a beautiful message that can be applied to many people, to several circumstances. And then she transforms from being a human to a demon, but she's still speaking to him in her demon form, saying to stop. Please stop saying sorry. Please stop always taking the blame. You know how I feel, and I want you to feel the same way. We're all in this together, and we can do it all together, so stop saying sorry all the time. And then he wakes up, and all around you is fire. And I love this edition because in the manga, you just see destruction around in the panels, broken buildings and debris. It's not really indicated that there's like a fire going on, but in the anime, they put the fire in there, man. Ufotable created just this landscape of hopelessness and figuring out, like, how are you going to get out of this? Tanjiro looks around and he's like, I hope everyone was able to evacuate. And then he looks behind him to see Nezuko was okay although she fell out of the box because he did fall off the roof, you know? And then all of a sudden, Gyutaro is just standing over Tanjiro saying, How are you still alive right now? And his presence is menacing. The fact that Tanjiro, again, realizing that his comrades are down, as Gyutaro kindly reminds him, I stabbed that bored kid in the back. Uzui's down. Poison got to his heart. It stopped. So he's dead. Zenitsu, that Thunder Boy, is under debris, crawling like an insect. He ain't getting out. So we see immediately that Gyutaro is making these claims, but he actually didn't finish them off. I mean, Zenitsu is technically still alive, and Gyutaro just assumed that he would die eventually. He assumed that he would. So that's very prideful, you know, to think that these people are done without you really checking on them, but we'll get back to that in a minute. And then Gyutaro asks Tanjiro, who's in the box? Looks like that's a relative. Is that your big or little sister? And Tanjiro is like, why isn't this guy killing me? I mean, he could right at this moment. Why isn't he doing that? He's just talking to me. And then Tanjiro says to Gyutaro, Nezuko is my little sister. Gyutaro pauses, and then he starts cackling. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. You, big bro, can't even protect your little sister. In fact, she ended up protecting you. And look where you are. He said Tanjiro is disgraceful. He called everyone disgraceful. In the manga, it translated as pathetic. Basically, he's saying everyone's trash, they can't do anything, and I'm the strongest, you all suck. Tanjiro is just, this look on his face is terror, because he doesn't know Gyutaro's next move is, it's like he's just taking it, right? Gyutaro pats Tanjiro on the head condescendingly, like, you're not a big brother. You can't even protect your little sister. Then he takes Tanjiro's hands, because he's like, these are the hands that you're supposed to use to protect your sister. And he breaks two of Tanjiro's fingers. It was really tough to see. I knew that was coming, but oh my goodness, I knew everyone who saw that was gonna die. Like, it was rough to see in the anime. He broke his two fingers, starts slapping Tanjiro's head. Like, it is humiliating how he is treating him, and basically like pouring salt, Listerine, everything in the wound. Okay, sand, everything's going in the wound. And this is where the anime changes a little bit from in the manga. Tanjiro then grabs Nezuko's box and starts running away. And I love that addition because it just adds the hopelessness to the situation, especially if you are an anime only. It looks like Tanjiro has given up. There's nowhere to run, and he is just at his wit's end. Like, just run. The situation is so bad that is the only option now at our disposal. Gyutaro starts laughing. Daki's like snickering with her smug self, just chilling on the roof. Then unfortunately Gyutaro then catches up with Tanjiro, kicks him in the gut into fired blaze debris buildings, and then the buildings start to collapse, and then Tanjiro gets out the way, and then you see him start to throw things at Gyutaro, and you don't notice until everything gets revealed momentarily, but it just looks so desperate. It's like people saying it's hard to watch just to see Tanjiro's last efforts in doing whatever he can, whatever it is, buying time, stalling, we don't know, because it looks bad. It looks bad all around. And the frame of Gyutaro walking towards Tanjiro creepily on the backdrop of the fire, which by the way looked like real fire. I mean, a lot of the budget went into just the fire of the buildings. It's kind of nuts. Kind of reminded me of Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street, just that vibe of like the boogeyman coming to get you and everything around you is in flames and there's nowhere to run. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And you see that Tanjiro is throwing these like small purses, but we really don't know what it is. And of course, with his broken fingers, he only has now like 3 fingers that are functional, and his other hand is tied to his sword's hilt. I mean, this kid is done. He's done. Gyutaro catches up with him, kicks him again, and then starts to tell him how pitiful he is. It's the end of the road for you. You are done. And then Tanjiro starts to raise his head. And then Gyutaro's like, why are you looking up in the sky? Is this what humans do when they want to stop their tears from falling? So pitiful. And then Tanjiro looks down and says, I've been preparing for this moment. He headbutts Gyutaro so hard. And then Gyutaro's like, are you gonna didn't think that's gonna do a human headbutt, but then his vision starts to blur. He can't get up. And then Daki's like, get up, bro. What's wrong with you? He looks down on his thigh. The wisteria-laced kunai dug in his thigh. It was incredible. Harkens back to the first episode of Demon Slayer where Tanjiro tricked Gyu when he threw that rock, pretended he had the axe by his side, but actually flung it in the air. Even though Gyu, gave Tanjiro the last blow, he didn't notice the axe was still coming from him, and he dodged the last second. So the cleverness of it all. Do not give Tanjiro time to think, because he's gonna figure it out. And with Gyutaro's bullying and prideful talk, like, he got this, you suck, all that time Tanjiro was scheming. And at the same time he headbutt Gyutaro, he stabbed him with the kunai, and what he was throwing before were these perfume bags courtesans used to carry with them, satchels that had really nice smelling whatever in them, was to cover up the smell of the wisteria in case Gyutaro would have sensed it before Tanjiro was able to stab him. So it was very well played. So Gyutaro's on the ground. Tanjiro takes his sword with the whatever hands and fingers he has left, because they're just back like Midoriya style, just purple and broken. Takes his sword down on Gyutaro's neck, and we see at hopefully the final attempt to kill this guy. And this was a beautiful moment too that was not found in the manga. In the manga, Daki yells, Gyutaro, like, oh my gosh, I gotta do something. In the anime, she says, Oni-chan! And then there's like a pause, and then we see the scene open up again with Nezuko saying, Oni-chan! And then back to that dream Tanjiro had before awakening, like, Oni-chan! The parallel then was made in Tanjiro's eyes that I could have been under my own sword. If I turned into a demon, if this was totally different, I could have been the one in Gyutaro's place. Nezuko and I could have both become demons, and it would have been a really bad situation. So it was incredible to see that parallel made, to see him pause and just think about that one wrong move that Gyutaro definitely did in being too prideful, taking too long to kill him. Tanjiro took advantage, and that was a misstep on Gyutaro's part. Before that, however, when Gyutaro was taunting Tanjiro and being super crazy, touching his scar, saying, I like ugly things, I like this scar of yours. And then, of course, he says, why don't you become a demon? Because upper moons are the only demons that can turn other demons into demons besides Muzan himself, the big boss. Big demon boss. And usually people who are at their wits' end, at the brink of death and don't want to die, they usually consider becoming a demon. But I think this is something we'll learn, that recruiting people, recruiting humans also can put you up in the rankings, which is what upper moons are looking to do all the time. So it's not just to like save humans from dying. There's a more selfish reason, I believe, behind that exchange. I think we'll learn more about that as we get to learn about the other upper moons and their dynamic. But of course, that's why also Akaza offered to change Rengoku into a demon, not just because he just wanted to. I think, Akaza wants to become like Upper Moon 1, So we're back on the scene. Daki's freaking out, seeing her brother under Tanjiro's Nichirin sword and about to get beheaded. And this is where you see lightning, thunder, shreds from the building where Zenitsu was, and he blasts himself from under the debris and then charges towards Daki, brings her up to the sky, distracting her from helping Gyutaro, because, listen, we need to keep this fight between Tanjiro and Gyutaro. Okay, Tanjiro needs to cut off his head. And I love the sound design for Zenitsu. When he charged towards Daki from under the buildings, they made it so it sounded like thunder in the sky before it rains. I think it was such a beautiful touch. And Daki starts to attack, saying, I know your attacks, I know your thunderclap and flash. Well, just as Zenitsu is about to unleash another thunderclap and flash attack, we soon found that he upgraded to godlike speed. Oh, I could not wait to see this moment. Basically bolts through like what looks like a comet tail towards Daki. Like, Zenitsu just put himself in the speed force, okay? Takes his blade on Daki's neck that changed to an obi, but it starts to split. Even she could not ward off the speed and strength from godlike speed. And we learn that Zenitsu could only use it twice. So this was his moment to take advantage of the opportunity Tanjiro presented when he saw, presumably from under where he was in the debris, that Tanjiro was able to trick Gyutaro and get his sword on his neck. Zenitsu was like, well, we got to do the same with Daki. Got himself from under the destruction, but he could only use godlike speed twice. And the second time was when he charged at her, and now they're zipping around through the sky. Zenitsu is trying his best to keep Daki at bay. We return to where Tanjiro is still trying to slice off Gyutaro's neck, but then we see it's not enough. The poison starts to wear off. You see Gyutaro reaching, and just the animation, like the force of gravity that's on Gyutaro, but he's like trying to lift up against Tanjiro's sword while at the same time reaching towards the kunai in his thigh, taking it out. And then this first of all, the voice acting for Gyutaro, the scream that he emits when he's trying to get out from the ground, and then unfortunately he unleashes his blood demon art to take the sword off his neck, and he's still in a slightly weakened state because the poison, although wearing off, is a little bit of a process, right? So he's not at 100%. It's only seconds though, because you see him lashing at Tanjiro with his blood sickles that Tanjiro is able to temporarily block. That's why he's able to, given the fact that he has, again, 2 broken fingers, 1 hand that's barely functioning. So it's like, how can he ward off these attacks? It's because Gyutaro is not yet at 100%. Tanjiro is blocking the attacks as best as he could, saying, don't give up. Don't give up. You're still in this. Don't let him hit you. And right where Gyutaro has the point of his scythe right at Tanjiro's eye, as it looks like Tanjiro is about to be taken out. This is the end. What do we see? We see Tengen-sama coming with 1 hand in his sword and 1 in his teeth. It was, ooh. I died. I loved that entrance. That was just so, I mean, the excitement and the hype of when Tengen rolled up to help defend Tanjiro from Gyutaro's attack. People were comparing it to Zoro. Do they mean Zoro from One Piece? I heard someone say One Piece, which I still need to watch. My apologies. That was an incredible moment. And then you see Tengen with 1 hand, okay, still doing his flashy, like, nunchuck sword dance. And this was one of the best moments of the episode when he says, I completed like the ultimate musical technique. There's like this crazed look on his face, like, I know your rhythm and I'm about to get in there. And then Tengen charges towards Gyutaro, and I love this adaptation. So in the manga, it is explained that Tengen, being the sound Hashira, that he has the ability to read his opponent's rhythm like a sheet of music, so he can analyze sound in a way that will present a type of pattern he can then respond to on like the and count, okay, where he could defend and attack. And I think it's just a brilliant display of not only his fighting capability but his combat intellect. And hold on, I need a moment. When you hear the track come on, when Gyutaro and Tengen start to go at it, you hear the piano, and I was like, because listen, the piano represents such a vital piece in all music. It is the instrument. It is what people use and play to create melodies, harmonies, to experiment and layer. It is what you use to teach people a song. It is what songwriters use. You know, it is the nucleus of music, okay? And to have that in Tengen's theme and just emphasizing that like importance of symphony and the importance of, again, reading your opponent like a sheet of music, I just love that. Of course, is explained more in the manga, but I love how they explained it with the animation and the sound design. And Gyutaro caught on because he's smart. He can be done with his like bullying, but he's really smart as a fighter. And he realized like, this guy is treating me like a piece of music. And Gyutaro's like, you ain't gonna get me with that, all right? So they have at it. And this sequence right here between Gyutaro and Tengen, with the music, with the camera movement, with all these small integrations, the animation of course, but how it's all done, I really can't explain. It is one of the most beautiful pieces of art I have ever witnessed. I have been watching this over and over and over again, and the hype when we come to that climax, when they're at each other's throats and they are screaming like never give up. The title of this episode applies to both parties here. Tengen is not going to give up, Tanjiro's not going to give up, Zenitsu's not going to give up, Gyutaro's not going to give up either. It is, everyone is putting their all into this fight, and it was just mind-blowing to witness. To give the effort to both sides, I think, was really just a nice touch of balance to it. It wasn't just all about Tengen winning, right? We can see Gyutaro not letting up and not letting himself die, but then we see Tanjiro running alongside them, trying to find an opening, because he is not going to release a moment. If he finds an opening to cut Gyutaro's neck, he is going to take it. And then we don't see it, it's hard to see in the anime, but Gyutaro cuts Tengen's chain, stabs him, but Tengen also cuts off Gyutaro's arm, stabs him in the gut, but that's when Tanjiro comes flying right after Gyutaro takes his blade on Tengen's face. He cuts he cuts his eyeball in half, like from forehead to jaw. It's a bad wound, alright? But even still, Tengen is like, don't stop, to Tanjiro. Don't stop, keep going now. You gotta do it now. The intensity was so... it was a lot. Just especially back to when Gyutaro and Tengen were like screaming at each other. It was like a Dragon Ball Z moment, okay? Just the ferociousness of both their efforts coming to this climax. And then again, you see Tanjiro wounded Tengen and Tanjiro. Even still, with these circumstances, they're going in for this just tremendous effort. Hold on, I'm gonna put on this highlighter. I just need a second. All right, put some primer on. I'm catching up with myself. Okay, we're finally going into the Byredo. While that's happening with Tanjiro, Gyutaro, and Tengen, we go back to Zenitsu and Daki. Zenitsu is losing strength. He is saying he cannot hold this anymore, and you're like, we need somebody else. Where's Inosuke? Everyone's like, where's Inosuke? Even though Inosuke, previously shown at the beginning of this episode, was down and bleeding through the chest, it was really bad. We see Inosuke flying through the air right where Zenitsu and Daki are, and Daki's like, I thought you died. Inosuke's like, poof, don't underestimate the flexibility of my body. I'm able to move my organs around, and I was raised on a very dangerous mountain, so I'm immune to poison. Now, people said that this was a lot of plot armor for Inosuke. In Inosuke's defense, we have seen prior that he has a lot of body sensitivity in terms of he can sense danger immediately without seeing it in front of him. That was further explored when he uses his beast breathing when they were in the forest with the spider demon Rui and his crazy fam, where he used that sensory like radar almost to locate where the spider mother was. And we also saw that when he was doing undercover work at one of the houses in the entertainment district, that he wasn't able to sense the Obi's location because he had clothes on. So it's really hard for him to make that conclusion or to figure out the location because he uses his skin again as like a GPS, like a radar. So one could argue that even though it all happened very quickly, when we saw the scythe come in quick into Inosuke's chest, that in a brief moment, Inosuke sensed something was coming in dangerous behind him, and it gave him time to shift, whether internally shift his heart or do something where it allowed the blade to bypass his heart. Now, the whole thing about the poison, people say that simply cannot be true. Given Uzui's training as a shinobi, I mean, Inosuke didn't have the same training, so how can he be immune, or rather, resistant to poison if he didn't have that same training? Because as a shinobi, you are given, I believe, like bits and bits of poison to actually have your body become resistant to it somewhat over time. Inosuke claims that him being in the mountains, maybe he ate something or whatever that allowed him to practice that a similar resistance. I don't know. All that to say, we see Inosuke flying through the air. I want to just say, who cares? This is an epic moment. We see our boys trying they're not even at the edge. They have gone beyond the edge several times during this fight. And to see them now at the brink of victory, the very edge, still unknown, anything can change. Inosuke takes his blades on the other side of Daki's obi, so they got a really nice pressure on the fabric, so they are able to cut it. Before that, we see Tanjiro putting all his strength into slicing Gyutaro's neck. In that moment, you see the scar that we've always seen throughout the series start to transform into what looked like to be the same on that slayer or warrior we saw in Muzan's flashbacks. That's a really important clue, okay? And we see also his hair change. It deepens in that red color and looks like flames. And Tanjiro's eyes turn white, so he is tapping in to like the deepest amount of strength that's available to him to beat Gyutaro and to have the strength to cut off his head, because Uzui was too injured, had too much poison to actually make the blow. He had enough to defend, as we saw previously, but he knew Tanjiro was the one to take the final blow. And then you see everyone just putting their all, screaming into that last bit to get their heads off, and the sound design just makes it go whoosh, and you just hear silence. And then you just see the heads. Well, first you see the heads pop off. Well, hold on, go through. Where you're going is probably important. Good luck. You hear just the satisfying sound of their heads being sliced, chopped, blitzed off. It was amazing. And then you see the heads just floating in the air with this look of complete and utter shock, like what just happened, against the orange tinted moon. And then they roll down. This was quite poetic, by the way. They roll and bounce down along the debris of the buildings of the destruction and roll toward each other, facing each other. That's how it ends for them. I believe we will get their backstory in what will be the final episode of the Entertainment District arc, which will be 45 minutes. So I cannot wait for that. So after the big blow, alright, we cut to the wives who are on the roof where Hinatsuru was in the last episode when she launched that kunai cannon. And Suma is like, they beheaded them, they beheaded them. She's celebrating. She goes to Hinatsuru, look, Hinatsuru beyond the grave. And Maki was like, you idiot, she's not dead yet. But Hinatsuru senses something is off. And then we cut back to Tanjiro, who is on his knees, gasping for air. Because I don't know if I mentioned this before. I'm really bad at these videos. My apologies. When Tanjiro was going in for the final blow, and of course, Gyutaro had his arm cut off by Uzui, stabbed in the stomach, but the one hand he had left, upon seeing Tanjiro leaping through the air, he used it to put the scythe through his chin, okay? So the scythe is through Tanjiro's chin, and then Tanjiro goes for the final blow, which is, I mean, people were like, I don't want to see the fingers. The reason why you see the broken fingers constantly through this episode, okay, is to emphasize the fact that Tanjiro is barely hanging on. And that's why it was vital to understand the severity of the situation and why he really needed to dig deep to unleash this hidden strength to finally cut Gyutaro's head. But remember, when you get stabbed by one of Gyutaro's scythes, it is poisoned. So he is on his knees, cut in the chin jaw, trying to control his breath to slow down the poison. And the way the sound is, it's like he's underwater. That is almost like his eardrums blew out from all the screaming and intensity from the last scene. And then you see Uzui trying to say something, but there is a look of terror on this man's face. And Tanjiro, trying to comprehend what's happening, again, very disoriented. He doesn't know really what's going on. He barely recovered from what just happened. These are really nice powders. I should have used my Intensifies wand, but maybe I still could. Hold on. Oh, much better. It becomes clearer in the span of probably like a second that Uzui is saying, it's not over yet. Run. Tanjiro is like, huh? Then the sound goes back to normal from the perspective of the audience, right? Because before it sounded like we were underwater to further understand what Tanjiro was hearing. During that moment when Tanjiro was about to cut off Gyutaro's head, and when we went back to his sister, because he had said, well, even if they cut off my head, as long as Daki's okay, then we're fine. But he realized, I'm sure, since he had his own eyeball on her forehead, that she was about to die too. And Daki yelled, oh, Nii-chan, like just desperately, because she knew it was over. And he couldn't save her. It was tough to see. I know people hate them, but she really sounded like this is it for her. Gyutaro said to himself, as a last resort, as my final blow, even if they're gonna cut off our heads, I could release the circular slashes. And you see his body start to erupt, and the circular slashes begin to come out of his body in this explosive fashion that, yes, definitely shown in the manga, but in the anime, it looked way worse. It was like a suicide bomb that Gyutaro set off. As a last resort, he's like, listen, you think you're gonna get me? I'm not done. If you're gonna kill me and my sister, you all are going down. So he releases his circular slashes, but the way it just kind of erupted looked like impossible to escape. They were all near the body. There wasn't enough time to get far enough away from his blood things, so it looked like they died. That's how it looked like. I mean, and then you just see the red smoke and the music starts to slow down, and then you just see everything kind of, it was like a release, but it was so haunting and somber because you were just left with the unknown once again, with a brutal cliffhanger. Couldn't really comprehend what just happened. I mean, it was great that they cut off their heads, but then You see Uzui saying to run, and he looks terrified, and the explosion was just in a way that made it inescapable to avoid. I have to say, the score for the outro was just beautiful. The imagery of how you just saw the red smoke float in the air and it dissipates, and then you see the ashes fall slowly like fireflies, and then the entertainment district silhouette is slowly revealed. But again, just the colors that they used, the mood that was set was absolutely perfect. And I know it was tough to see, because I can only imagine as an anime only how distraught you must have felt after that victory, which seemed brief, and then presented with the possibility that they didn't make it anyway. Well, knowing this is a shonen, at least our three are gonna survive, okay? Tengen, he was right next to Gyutaro when he exploded. And did Tengen use his body to shield Tanjiro? Because Tanjiro didn't have time to react. He was still trying to, like, get his breath together after he got stabbed in the jaw, probably feeling the poison starting to flow through quickly. Like, he was trying to do everything he could to survive. So there's so much in the air. Like, what happened to the wives? I'm sure they got caught up in that attack as well. It just looked like it went everywhere. It was so aggressive in its nature, in just, ooh. Gyutaro's a menace, man. So this is where we end the episode, and then we have the Nin. Leave it to Demon Slayer to just change the mood so swiftly, like you don't even know what to think. We go back to where Tanjiro is on his knees, breathing, lashed down, breathing heavily, and then you hear Nezuko saying, "Don't give up, bro, keep on living." This is the funniest part. And then we go into the Taisho era secret, and then Tanjiro's like, he turns his head while like in that state of just pure edge of deathness, and then Nezuko proceeds to explain why Tanjiro has such a hard head, like why he's able to get himself out of tough situations is because Mama Komodo has a hard head too, and so hard she used it to ward off a boar away from their home. And you see little Nezuko on Mom's back, and little Tanjiro look in disbelief like, whoa, Mom's head is really strong. So that's where we end off. And also little Nezuko told us that next week is the final episode, so it's called How Many Lives, and boy oh boy, you can interpret that to be anything really. So that is the end of episode 10, or episode 17. It was perhaps one of the most beautifully animated. I had to cut myself off because I had a meeting, and what was I saying before? Oh yes, it's a great time to be an anime fan between Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan, and the just masterful handling of these two stories to have them drop on the same day. But back to Demon Slayer, it is incredible to witness just the different elements of artistry that can come together in a fluent way and delivering the most out-of-body experience you can possibly have. To have the sound design and the artwork and the animation, the camera work, everything come together. The voice acting, the designs of the characters, how the adaptations are presented, really ufotable. It's hard to watch other anime, let me tell you. It's unfair because not every anime is going to have the same budget Ufotable has. I mean, they spend everything. It is so beautiful. In fact, listen, if they decide to turn this in a movie, even if I've already seen the Entertainment District arc, I don't care. To see that on the big screen with the sound, bruh, I will watch that twice, maybe even 3 times. Maybe they could do that so they could get some of their money back. And we're not even finished with the story yet, fam. There is so much left to cover. And if this is a clue, a just an inkling of what's to come, of what we are about to see with the upcoming arcs. Ufotable has set the bar so high that it is worth the wait. I will wait however long it takes, whatever it is deemed necessary to get the masterpiece that we got on Sunday. And for the rest of the arcs, to see the other characters in Kimetsu no Yaiba come to life. The soundtrack's okay. Oh my gosh. Samuel Kim just dropped the Tengen and Gyutaro fight. I'll put in my community board. You have to go listen to it. Even if you don't watch Demon Slayer, if you're just a fan of music, oh my goodness, it is riveting. Just gets you in that mindset of like, don't stop, keep going. It's amazing. And I'm going to listen to that on repeat. What do you think of these eyes? These are really fun. This is Nakia's multi-chrome powder. I'm terrible at showcasing multi-chrome shininess. Bad to the Brow is so much better at this than me. I mean, I don't know. Can you see this? Can you see a shift? In one side we have Gravity, which is the like purple to pink to what else is in here? Like blue maybe? UFO is like the green, the yellow, the gold. There's a lot going on there as well. Slapped on some Shandelier lashes, Suku sheer matte lipstick in number 11 Shunrai. This was fun to do. I have to dip back into the Byredo Prism palette. It's just nice to have these colors, and the powders are soft. I think easier to deal with than other brightly colored mattes that I have used before. And you know, I had the freaking palette. It was very expensive, limited edition, but I need to start using it more often. I also have the little Byredo palette that I have not even touched yet. This is why I have to stop buying the Manga. Well, friends, stay tuned for another anime Get Ready With Me. I would love to film my Attack on Titan video sometime this week. I haven't been doing a lot of new makeup reviews because I would like to try the LYS concealer. We'll see if I could grab that. And the NARS foundation is said to be quite the hit, so maybe I'll pick that up as well. But stay tuned for another anime Get Ready With Me. I cannot wait until I am counting down the days. It's gonna be 45 minutes for our Demon Slayer finale. We don't know how long it will be until we get season 3. Hopefully, since technically we got 2 arcs for season 2, although Mugen Train did release before season 2, Mugen Train Entertainment District arc are considered to be in the same season. So we should get 2 arcs for season 3. I highly doubt they're going to add the final arc in season 3. That might have to be for season 4. So Demon Slayer might not be fully animated until 2026, 27. It might seem like a long way out, but when we get there, we will then reflect on how quickly time has passed, I'm sure. But let's deal with this Sunday, shall we? Let me know your thoughts down below if you saw the last episode of Demon Slayer, what you think and all that good stuff. I'll see you down in the comments, and until then, fam, that is alright. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, anime Get Ready With Me, or monthly faves. Take care, and I will see you again soon.